Shalom. And I'm going to start off bringing all the praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Wachach Chodesh. Double honors to my teachers, the apostles and elders, the great millstone, and salutations to you, Akim, that's out there listening, pushing forth this word with truth and sincerity, and your few Akwath as well, that's listening with sincerity. I'm the brother Machaya from the camp GMS Montreal, coming back with another lesson. And vows are very important in the eyes of the Lord. Okay, when you make a particular vow, you have to make sure you perform it, man. Okay, because it is within the law, which we're going to read right here in Deuteronomy 23 and verse 21. It says, when thou shalt vow a vow unto the Lord thy power, thou shalt not slack to pay it. For the Lord thy power will surely require it of thee, and it would be sin to thee. Right? So you have to perform the vow that you have made, man. Don't slack. Okay? Because the Lord will require it of you, man. And if the Lord has to come and require that of you, it's not going to be how you want it to be. Okay? Yeah, I'm saying that's why also we have to be very mindful of the vows that we make. Right? Of the things that we say, I'm going to be this, that, the third, until that, You have to be very careful, man. Okay? Because the Lord takes that very serious. All right? Let's read that in the NLT. It says, verse 21, when you make a vow to the Lord your power, be prompt in fulfilling whatever you promise them. For the Lord your power demands that you promptly fulfill all your vows, or you will be guilty of sin. See, and if you don't perform it, that will be sin unto you, man. Okay, here it is, you backbiting, I didn't really mean that. Nah, the Lord's going to require that vow, man. Yeah, I'm saying, once again, that's why we have to be mindful of what comes out our lips, man. Okay. Verse 22, back to the KJV, says, but if thou shalt forbear to vow, it shall be no sin unto thee. So once again, just don't vow. Right? Just don't do it, man. Okay. Vows are very important. That's why when you want to make a vow, you got to make sure you think about it. Am I willing to fulfill this? It's not something you just stick on the flight and, okay, wow, I'm going to make this vow, boom, bam. No. You think it's a process, and then you see if it's actually for you, then okay, you throw up your vow, man. Okay, because certain things is because in the moment, it's how you're feeling, and then you want to throw up a quick, no. Okay, feelings come and go, man. Okay? Unless you go and trap yourself up, and then now you're through. Suffering. Okay? It says, verse 23, that which is gone out of thy lips, thou shalt keep and perform. You see, whatever is gone out your lips, you have to keep it and perform it, man. Okay, because we are men of integrity. We are men of our word. Okay? Worldly people say one thing, and then here it is, they don't perform it, man. You can't have that mindset. All right? Even a free will offering, according as thou hast vowed unto the Lord thy power, which thou hast promised with thy mouth. So perform your vows, man. And there's examples in the scriptures where particular vows were not kept. The Lord came and, exacted judgment for that vow not being performed, man. Okay? The example that comes to mind is the vow that Joshua made with those heathens, where he made them, let's get it, hewers of wood and jars of water, which the brothers went into that in the Saturday camp. That's what really inspired this lesson. Hewer. Hewer. Joshua 9 and verse 21. Let me see. Okay, we'll start at verse 21, but the whole chapter basically goes into the heathens that came over, okay, when they heard of our conquests, how that we were destroying the heathens round about, and how the Lord was dealing with us. They came and basically disguised themselves to make a covenant with us. And, we gave into it because we thought that because they came in the pretense of them, they coming afar because they heard of the fame. And then, Joshua and the princes or whatnot made a vow with them that they're not going to destroy them, rather put them into bondage. Okay? And then it came to find out that they're actually neighboring heathens that, we were to destroy. But since we made that vow, we couldn't destroy them. Okay, but I'm going to go down here, the vow that basically the covenant that we made with them, right? This is Joshua 9 and verse 21. It says, and the princes said unto them, let them live, right? Referring to the spies or the heathens that came and disguised themselves to get our favor. Okay, so this is the judgment that we cast upon them. And the princes said unto them, let them live, but let them be hewers of wood and drawers of water unto all the congregation, as the princes has promised them. And Joshua called for them, and he spake unto them, saying, wherefore have ye beguiled us, saying, we are very far from you when ye dwell among us, right? They basically yike Joshua, disciplined him. Okay, now therefore ye are cursed, and there shall none of you be freed, being bondmen and hewers of wood and drawers of water unto the house of my power. And they answered Joshua and said, because it was certainly told thy servants how that the Lord thy power commanded his servant Moses to give you all the land, and to destroy all the inhabitants of the land from before you. Therefore we were sore afraid of our lives because of you, and have done these things, right? So they were afraid. Therefore, they came and disguised themselves to basically, like I said, get their good favor and not be destroyed. But once again, since we made a covenant with them without knowing that they were neighboring cities, we had to uphold that. Okay? Yeah, I'm saying, let me see if I could go up where the vow was made. Into the ritual. You see verse 15, it says, and Joshua made peace with them and made a league with them to let them live, and the princes and the congregation swore unto them. So in other words, they made a vow that, we're in league, we're not going to destroy you. You see that? So that's a vow, a league that was performed. Okay, and then when they found out that they were actually neighboring cities, then we couldn't destroy them, so we made them slaves, right? But as time progressed and went on, we're going to get this in 2 Samuel. The vow was broken. Okay, 2 Samuel, the 21st chapter, right here, in verse 1, it says, then there was a famine in the days of David 3 years. Why did this famine happen? It's going to tell you. Year after year, and David inquired of the Lord, and the Lord answered, it is for Saul and for his bloody house, because they slew the Gibeonites. We were not supposed to slay them. Okay, like we read in Joshua, there was a league made to have peace, and we made them jars of wood and hewers. I said jars of wood, drawers of water and hewers of wood. Therefore, what? Famine fell upon our land, man. Okay, because what? This vow was not performed. All right. So showing you how it's deadly serious, man. Okay. Of how vows are very important and how you have to keep them. That's why you have to be mindful and be very careful how you proceed about making a vow. Okay, which even being in this truth, it's a vow. That's why, once again, the scriptures say, well, count the cost. Let's get that too, man. Because you don't just come into this and here it is, I'm going to stay in it for a while, and then later I'm going to go back to the world. No, that's not the mindset. Once you come in, it's a vow. Okay? Count cost. There we go. This is Luke 14 and verse 28. It says, for which of you attending to build a tower sitteth not down first and counteth the cost, whether he have sufficient to finish it? Right? You gotta count the cost, man. You gotta see if you have sufficient to finish this course, to finish this race, man. Because this is until the end. This is until death do us apart, man. Okay? So if you're listening there and you don't know if you want to come into this, hey, you gotta count the cost. See, if I come in this, hey, the videos I listen to, what the brothers say, the scripture says it's a thing until the end. Am I ready for this? If you are, then hey, get to work. You know, because there's no going back. Once you entered into this, bro, there's no looking back. You don't, oh, I don't know. No, there's no looking back. It's till death do us apart, man. Okay? I want to get this too in Sirach, Ecclesiastes, actually, 5 and verse 4. It says, when thou vowest a vow unto thy power, defer not to pay it, for he hath no pleasure in fools. Pay that which thou hast vowed. Again, you know, going back to the law we read in Deuteronomy, the 23rd chapter, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, I think it was 23rd or 21st in the beginning of the lesson, right? So defer not to pay it, man. Okay, because the Lord does not delight in fools. Only fools make a vow that they cannot perform. Okay? Better it is that thou shouldest not vow than thou shouldest vow and not pay. Suffer not thy mouth to cause thy flesh to sin. Yeah, you could cause your flesh to sin by saying saying something rashly, man. Because of emotion, because, you know, really it's because of emotion, you know, things we think we tend to say things prematurely or say things rashly because of emotions. You know, you're sad or you're pissed, whatever. And how, you know, you see it, and now you're through. That's why also you have to be able to control your spirit, control your emotions. Okay, filter out your thoughts, filter out, you know, things before you say it, man. Okay, neither say thou before the angel, it was an error. Yeah, shalak, yo, Lord, I made a mistake, Lord. No, it came out your mouth. Okay, there's a difference between, you know, you slipping with your tongue. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, certain things happen when we slip with the tongue. Like earlier when I said, you know, drawers of wood, that was a slip of the tongue. Okay, you know what I'm saying? There's a difference. But here it is. You said a whole sentence of a vow. You know what? I'm a vow and do. I'm not gonna. I don't know. Do this anymore. For, you know, until the Lord comes or some shit. You know what I'm saying? Hey, that's not a slip of the tongue. That's a full sentence. That's a full sentence you gave, bruv. Okay. So you can't come before the angel and say, "Oh, no, it was an error. It was a slip of the tongue, Lord. Forgive me." No, you thought about it. You said the full sentence. You know what I'm saying? That's why you have to be very careful. Okay? Heat of the moment. Fuck the heat of the moment, man. Think. It says, suffer not thy mouth to cause thy flesh to sin, neither say thou to the angel, it was an error. Wherefore should the Most High be angry at thy voice and destroy the work of thine hands? Yeah. Why do you want to be destroyed, man? Just bridle your mouth. Okay, let me read that in the NLT. It says, don't let your mouth make you sin. And don't defend yourself by telling the temple messenger that the promise you made was a mistake. Yeah, it was a mistake. I wasn't thinking straight. You know, I was drunk. No, I was mad, you know, because this high was a mistake. You shall keep your mouth shut. Okay? That would make the Most High angry and might wipe out everything you have achieved. That's a fact. You know, and if, let's say, if you want to perform something and you think like you're not going to do it, just make the vow to yourself, you know, like, you know, within yourself, be like, you know what? Because once again, we are men of integrity, right? Or, you know, you might say it, you know, to a brother, I'm going to do this, that, you know. It's not really a vow, but I'm going to do this for myself. And from there, you proceed with it, man, because, you know, it's less of a punishment if you slip up, because it's a vow to yourself. There's a difference when you say, oh, you make the vow to the Lord, yo, I'm going to do this, that. Nah, man. You know, because I do that, you know. I do certain things, you know. I make a vow to myself within my mind. I'm like, you know, I'm not going to do such and such until that. You know, so if I slip up, you know what I'm saying, I'm not destroyed. The works of my hands are not destroyed, bro. Because, you know, it's different when you make a vow to the Lord. You know what I'm saying? You have to tread very carefully when it comes with vows, man. Tread very carefully, okay? Oh, another example comes to mind is, what's his name, man? In the book of Judges. Is it Jephthah? Man, in the book of Judges where I forgot the brother's name, the prophet's name, man. What's his name, man? Damn. But basically in the book of Judges where is it No, it's not Jephthah. Is it Jephthah? Let me see. In the book of Judges. No, it's not again, I forgot his name, but in the book of Judges, there was a man that made a particular vow of how that if his enemies would destroy the first things that comes through his door, he's going to slay it as a sacrifice unto the Lord. And this man only had one daughter. Okay, and when he destroyed his enemies, and his daughter heard of it, she was, basically coming to embrace his father and, celebrate. And in, sense of, because of that vow, she's the first one that came in. She had to be basically sent up as a sacrifice unto the Lord, man. The vow had to be maintained, had to be kept, because he said it. You know what I'm saying? Which that's when you read that story, it's a very sad story, but it shows you how that vows are very important, man. And that was a great act that man did, in performing that, man, because that was his only daughter, right? So you tread carefully with vows, man. You know what I'm saying? Okay, which, you could go read that story, man. You go on Google, basically write what I just described and you'll find it. But I'm gonna close it off there, man. All right. By giving all the praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Wacha Chodesh. Lord willing,